We are live. Welcome to Getting Real. I'm your host, Monick Halm. And on this show, we focus on authentic, real, raw stories and issues for real estate investors, women real estate investors in particular. And today, I'm super excited to have with me a guest, Sara Barthel, who I will introduce in a second. We are going to be talking about an issue that I think doesn't normally come up on shows about real estate investing, but should. We're going to be talking about health. And last year, unfortunately, I spent a little more time than I wanted to in the ER and in hospital beds, which is any time I was in there. I found myself a couple of times in the hospital last year. I had a variety of different health issues. And as I was lying in the hospital bed, I had a realization about how important health is, right? Like if I wasn't going to get out of that hospital, there were going to not be any more deals. Right? So if you don't have health, what do you have? So I'm really excited to have with us today Sara, who is going to help us have a conversation about health and maybe even talk of like break some myths and help us to have some actionable steps we can take to improve health. Sara is a licensed functional medicine nutritionist who helps women balance their digestion, hormones, energy, and weight naturally. She received her master's in nutrition and functional medicine from the University of Western States and is a board certified nutrition specialist and licensed dietitian nutritionist. She owns a virtual practice, Vibrant Via, and has worked on cutting edge research on nutrition, gut health, and brain health. She uses personalized lab testing, nutrition supplements, and lifestyle interventions to help her clients achieve optimal health. And she's helped create corporate wellness programs for companies like Fair Health and Anderson Windows. Beyond her professional work, she is a former Ironman and ultramarathon athlete who's passionate about helping people achieve vitality and restore balance to their bodies naturally. So, welcome, Sara. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited for this conversation. I think it's so important.
It is so important. And well, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, why is it so important for women to think about these health issues, especially gut health, hormone balance, and stress management?
So I mean, who doesn't this impact, right? It started with my own health journey back in my 20s and early 30s when from the outside, I was this, Ironman, healthy endurance athlete, green smoothie drinking. And on the inside, my gut was a mess. And it had it impacted my brain health. It impacted my skin, my hormones. It had all kinds of issue implications, and I wasn't able to get any answers. And it was just this frustrating, helpless feeling. And I ended up going on my own path and kind of figuring things out on my own, and then ended up going back to grad school and just going from there. And it shouldn't take that. It's a story that I hear over and over with women. A lot of the women I work with they're driven, high performing, type A. They are used to succeeding in every area of their lives. And oftentimes I see this pattern where something starts to shift, usually in their 30s or 40s. And what worked in the past no longer does. And they're either told, it's normal, it's aging, or given like, here's an anti-anxiety med, here's a laxative, something to sort of like band-aid the symptoms without actually getting to the root cause. And that's going to really set the tone for how we age going into our 40s, 50s, and beyond. In terms of, I don't know about you, I think most of us want to continue to contribute, to continue to grow, to continue to be vibrant and healthy and strong, well into old age. And so addressing things and turning around these symptoms, the earlier the better, is going to have massive ramifications on your health long term.
That is, yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I'm super happy you are here. And I would like to ask a question about some practical steps women can take to improve their gut health, for better mental clarity and focus? What are some practical steps?
So the first thing I like to do, and I put together a PDF guide, so I'll make sure to get that to you if anyone's interested, to recap my top 10, most powerful nutrition and lifestyle tips. I always start with food first. What we put in our mouth is, what every bite that we take is an opportunity to nourish our bodies. And there is no one diet that works for everyone. We are so our genetics are different, our preferences are different, our gut microbiome is different. But that being said, there are certain simple things in terms of just an anti-inflammatory diet that will be foundational and make any diet and lifestyle approaches go further. The American Gut Project looked at tens of thousands of different stool tests over the years, and they found that the healthiest people across the board, no matter their diet, they were eating more variety and more diversity. So like an average of 30 to 50 different plant foods, every color of the rainbow. That's veggies, herbs, spices, nuts and seeds, low glycemic fruits. And I think most of us, it's just a reminder, kind of like we get stuck in a rut, right? We have our 7 favorite foods. We eat them over and over and over. And the reason it's so important, there's multiple reasons, but each color has a different polyphenol, a different antioxidant that's going to calm inflammation, that's going to feed different gut bacteria, the different fibers are going to bind different toxins. And we always want this balance, right? In our gut microbiome, kind of the good guys and the bad guys. And so, that is one of the most powerful things you can do to make sure that you are more resilient to food sensitivities, to inflammation, to brain fog, anxiety, and mood issues because of the gut-brain connection being so strong.
So 30 to 50 different types of plant foods per week.
Yes.
Right? And
a bite here, a bite or a sprinkle. I'm not even talking a whole serving.
It doesn't have to be like a whole serving.
It's really all about variety, sneaking in a few sprinkles here and there. Yeah.
Okay. So put into a smoothie or a salad or whatever.
Exactly.
A variety of different things. Okay. Yeah. Great. And is there, other than having this great variety of different plant foods, is there anything else that people might?
Yeah. A lot of women aren't getting enough protein. And this is something for me as a former vegetarian, I totally overlooked, but we need protein for all of our enzymes, all of our digestive processes. Our neurotransmitters in our brain, those are created in our gut. So I think with so many people dealing with anxiety, depression, mental health issues on the rise, we need to look at are we giving our bodies the raw material to produce those neurotransmitters, to produce those vitamins and minerals. The other aspect of that is there's a saying that fire in the gut means fire in the brain. So oftentimes if there's inflammation in the gut, if there's an infection or a pathogen, or if you've got leaky gut, that just kind of opens the door to systemic inflammation, to crossing the blood-brain barrier, to developing more food sensitivities. And so that variety and rotation is really key. Getting enough protein is really important. A lot of women I see they either aren't eating enough, or they aren't breaking down, digesting, and absorbing it very well due to a variety of reasons. So I'm a fan of test, not guess, and that comes with blood work. That goes with looking at a comprehensive stool test to see exactly what's going on in the gut, how it's impacting hormones, blood sugar, brain health, all of that.
So good. What would you say are some of the biggest myths that we're taught about health that might actually be making us sicker?
So specific to women, because that's most of the people I work with are women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I think probably one of the most damaging things is when women start to maybe gain weight, or especially in the abdomen. They're just told, exercise more, eat less. And that can be so damaging to our psyche, because the research is finally catching up that, after our 30s, it's no longer about calories in, calories out. It's more of a hormone imbalance issue. And I'm talking
Mhm.
not only sex hormones, but insulin, cortisol, stress hormones, hunger and satiety hormones. We hear a lot about that right now with, weight loss injection drugs. We create those naturally. And, there's about 10 hormones that control weight and metabolism, thyroid. There's a lot going into that. And I think when women are just told, to eat less and exercise more, that can actually be counterproductive. It can stress our stress hormones are very sensitive. And so that can just drive up cortisol and therefore blood sugar and sleep issues and more weight gain, especially in the belly. We've got about 700% more cortisol receptors in our abdomen than
Wow.
anywhere else. So stress belly is a real thing. So I think we just need to look at how to balance our whole body, and then it will respond when we give it what it needs.
Oh, that's so good. Any other myths that were taught that just not true?
I think as women, it's really hard to put ourselves first. I think I talk to a lot of women who feel guilt about taking time for themselves or investing in themselves or taking time away from their families to work out, or investing in lab testing or something like that. And, you know, it really, we perform better, we show up better when we feel our best. And I think specifically with what you do and with kind of guiding women executives, women investors, the reason it's so important is if we're having brain fog, if we have anxiety, if we have fatigue and low energy, if we don't feel confident about how we look, it's going to hold us back from showing up as our best selves, whether it's for our family or for our job, or if it's holding us back from just stepping into, that higher calling we feel called to grow in. And so it doesn't serve anyone, but it is a huge hurdle that I see in almost everyone I talk to.
So and I'm a big fan of like pleasure and self-care, but you talk about how, and I know a lot of women think that that is selfish, right? Like self-care, we're often taught we have to put everybody first, right? First, we take care of our kids, then the spouse, the boss, the job, the parents, everyone. And then somewhere down, down the list, we can take care of ourselves. And I know so many women, like many new moms or whatever, they feel guilty if they're in the toilet, they're just going to the bathroom, taking a bath or shower, or going to bed. So what are some tips, self-care practices that women can incorporate into their routines that will help them avoid this burnout and have healthier results?
I think it's about weaving it into the day, especially for a new mom, for example. It's just not realistic to have a spa day or devote hours. But I think it's really the small shifts that we weave into our days over time that really add up to massive life changes and massive health changes. And so maybe start by dedicating 5 or 10 minutes first thing in the morning. Do something, some sort of self-care activity or some sort of meditation or prayer or gratitude practice. Um, Weaving in a walk, um, a lot of women over 40 start to become insulin resistant and they don't know it. It's important to know your numbers. And just something as simple as going for a walk after you eat is going to blunt that blood sugar response. And that's going to help, with blood sugar control, with weight. I mean, insulin is the fat storage hormone. It affects you might have an energy drop or like fatigue in the afternoon. Something as simple as just going for a walk, or even just like taking the long, parking a little further away, or doing some sort of movement or physical activity after a meal can make a big difference. Or even just picking one meal and taking, like, sitting at the table, not eating at your desk or in the car. Like, turn off the news, turn off your phone, and just take 3 deep breaths and say a prayer of gratitude. What that does is it stimulates your vagus nerve that connects your gut brain axis. It resets your whole nervous system and it puts you in a state of rest and digest. And the more you do that, send these little safety signals to your body throughout the day in small ways. It adds up. It makes a difference.
I love that. I'm taking notes here. There's so many little nuggets that are so good. The 3 breaths and a prayer of gratitude right before you eat, turning off all the things, especially the news or stressful, just being with your meal, having some physical activity after the food. You know, first thing in the morning, having a few minutes of like tuning in, some meditation, some prayer, some gratitude. I do the miracle morning every morning, but
Oh, that's awesome.
the savers. Um, and it's not, and one of the things I really love too is the answer is not always and often exercise more, eat less, which I was definitely told and was totally stressing me out because I was like, I'm exercising a lot. I'm eating less. I'm trying to eat all the things they tell me, but and it's not making a difference. In fact, I keep gaining weight. So what is that?
Yeah.
So I love that. That's been really, that's all really so helpful to hear. Now we were also talking about like all the hormones, right? So you speak on rebalancing hormones for digestion and weight for women's health. How can balancing hormones specifically help women maintain their energy and productivity?
So we're looking at all the hormones again. So obviously around 35 or 40, as we enter perimenopause and head into menopause, our estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are wildly fluctuating. But there are things that we can do with certain foods that are going to lower inflammation, are going to keep our insulin and blood sugar stable, and therefore our brain and energy stable and weight. There's, just making sure that you're going 12 hours overnight, more nights than not, where you have a window of not eating. Sleep. I mean, that is probably one of the least sexy things, but it is absolutely foundational. Like, it's an emergency brake to health. I've seen women have an impeccable diet and they can't lose weight for anything. The reason I talk about weight a lot is that women often, they're willing to put up with all kinds of crazy symptoms, but as soon as they start gaining weight and they can't lose it, that's when they come to me. But there's usually a lot more going on, digestive issues, fatigue. And so sleep is foundational for a few reasons. I mean, one, if you don't get 7 to 8 hours of solid sleep, you're immediately insulin resistant the next day. And that hormone is telling your body store fat, store calories, store energy for the future. But it also triggers cravings and like a blood sugar swing. And that's kind of priority number one, is keeping our blood sugar stable throughout the day. And if that's where all of our healing is going, our healing energy, we don't have a lot of extra. The other thing that happens when we sleep, if we don't get a solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep, is that our brain actually detoxifies at night. So our brain shrinks and like cerebrospinal fluid washes up over it and detoxes, bacteria, viruses, tau tangles. It's like this ultimate reset. And think about, how well are you going to perform and feel if you're having blood sugar swings and brain fog? It's just one of those things that we need to guard our sleep and keep it as consistent as possible on the weekends and weekdays, as close to that as possible.
Yeah. So a lot of this has to do with what if I'm hearing correctly, when you want to sleep, you want to take these pauses to center yourself and have some movement, and then have a variety of different foods, have sufficient proteins. What I think we had this conversation on the phone before. I was at a previous meeting, and we were talking about because excess exercise,
Yeah.
right? Because
So,
you were an Ironman marathoner. I did endurance races before, of my triathlons. I've only done a half Ironman, but but still, like I was doing, that, and I just and you would think that, yeah, that's so healthy, that's so great. I should just keep doing that forever. But
yeah.
you had a different opinion about that.
So, well, I will say, like, I mean, I still love, I have that in me, but there comes a certain point where, like all things, there's a bell curve, right? Of when it becomes beneficial and when it becomes damaging. And so, excess anything can backfire on us. And so when we push our bodies to that extent, we need to make sure that we are giving ourselves plenty of recovery. It causes intestinal permeability, like opens up the tight junctions, which is really the gateway to systemic inflammation, to autoimmune disease, to food sensitivities. We need to take extra care that we are recovering well, but it also spikes our cortisol levels. And so, and I've seen a trend where, women who are endurance athletes, and myself included, at a certain point, your adrenals are just like, nope, this is not happening anymore. And so we need to start shifting from long, steady state cardio to, especially so as our hormones start to wind down into retirement, our adrenals kick into higher gear. They sit right on top of our kidneys and they release cortisol, stress hormones that keep us alive. But if they're too high or too low, it can backfire. It drives up blood sugar. It gets you ready to fight or flight. And excess, especially excess long steady state cardio, can really drive up cortisol and blood sugar. And so women oftentimes need to start switching from a little less of that and a little more walking, yoga, weightlifting.
Mm,
Weightlifting, I would say, is like a non-negotiable if
okay.
you're in your 30s and 40s or beyond, because that's what's going to keep you insulin sensitive, like healthy blood sugar levels. That's what's going to keep you strong bones, strong muscles, well into old age. It's protective against, cardiovascular and brain health. And it's going to improve your metabolism and give you a better body composition that you're looking for. And we start to lose muscle mass by the year after that, around that age group. And so it's just something that we have to prioritize, 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. I have not been doing that much weightlifting, so I'm making a list of more things to add.
And that's the other thing, though, is I hope people take away is like pick 1 or 2 things. Don't be like all of a sudden I'm going to do a 180-degree change. It's like pick 1 or 2 small shifts, and maybe for you it's weightlifting and variety or sleep or something, and then just like
Mhm.
add it in. And then once that becomes just second nature, pick one more thing and add it in, because it's really those layers that's what makes it sustainable and something you can actually stick with for life. It's not like a fad or a short-term thing.
Yeah. All right. So, what is the most important piece of advice you can give to women looking to improve their health while managing their busy career, their investments?
Yeah.
What's the most important piece of advice you would say?
I think just take time for downtime for yourself. Take time to rest and recover. Fiercely guard your sleep. Plan ahead when it comes to eating healthy. Whether you enjoy cooking or whether you're picking up food, just make sure that you're getting, regular meals that are high in protein, healthy fats, vegetable fibers, and then just knowing your numbers. I think making sure that and if anyone is interested, I do offer a free root cause breakthrough call if you want to look over labs, if you've had lab work done. I think it's important to empower and give women the tools they need to kind of understand where things are kind of trending high normal, low normal, and what we can do to turn that around before it ever gets to a diagnosis.
Great. So that is so generous. And before we get into our end of show Trinity, the brag, the gratitude, and desire, what is the best way that people can connect with you to find out more, to get access to this complimentary call, to get the freebie, the PDF you were talking about at the beginning of the episode?
So my website is vibrantvia.com. You can find me on all the social media at Sara Barthel. And then for the free root cause breakthrough calls, it's a 30-minute call where we really just go through and figure out your 3 main hurdles that are keeping you from kind of optimal, vibrant health and kind of get you on the right direction. My calendar is at chatwithsara, SARA.com. And I can send you the PDF. It's of just 10 anti-aging tips for women over 40. I'll send that to you if you want to get that out. Or if you book the free call, I can get it to you through there as well.
Okay, and I'm going to just put chatwithsara.com and then Vibrant Via, VIBRANTVIA.com.
Correct.
It is in the chat as well. All right, great. So let's do your Trinity. What is one thing you're celebrating right now?
So I think I was thinking about that this morning, and I was like, I think one of the things that I'm really celebrating is I got off the phone earlier today with a client, and she's a really successful executive in Chicago and with a large global company. And we've been working together for about a year now, and we've uncovered some pretty surprising symptoms and like extreme exhaustion, gut issues, asthma, high eosinophils. Her cortisol, we suspected it was high. It's like in the tank. And so insulin resistance. And she was just like reflecting on how far she's come. And like, we were both crying, and she was just basically excited, but also frustrated that she never got these answers before. And just kind of thinking like her whole health trajectory has changed for the better. And so I think it's powerful what the human body is capable of, but it's also such an honor to guide people through that process and just show them how powerful and they are.
That's great. Well bragged. What is one thing you're grateful for?
Being surrounded by a group of women. I have just some incredible women in my life right now who are successful, compassionate, driven, and just show me what's possible. You know, when it comes to making a positive impact on the world, using my voice. I'm doing more public speaking, stepping into my calling and just sharing that message of hope and health with women, and just reminding them that, we don't have to settle for a laundry list of symptoms, but having vibrant health is something, that's very possible. And also kind of to piggyback on that, it's not too late. You're not too old. There's always a lot you can do to improve your health, mental health, brain health, gut health, and, move forward with that push that you felt inside for something greater.
Beautiful. And what is one thing you desire?
Personally, my desire is to start building our dream home in Point Loma next year. Professionally, I want to be able to impact more women. The more women I talk to, one-on-one, I do mostly one-on-one coaching, but I also do public speaking, and people always are sharing their stories. The more I want to help kind of educate them, empower them, inspire them to take those next steps to just rebalance their digestion, their hormones, their weight, to, show them that there are lab testing and data so we can actually see, we don't have to guess what's going on. We can actually understand the root cause and know exactly what we need to rebalance. And then it has ripple effects on all areas of their health once we start to, give our bodies what they need instead of, slapping a a Band-Aid on with a medication or just covering up those symptoms.
Awesome. So shall your desires be, or so much better than you can imagine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. That was great. Jonane put in the chat. This is great information. She'll be contacting you for a consultation. Yes, you definitely need to take advantage of this. So thanks again, Sara, and thank you all for being here. And definitely, I want to invite you to join us next week, same time, for another episode of Getting Real. And join me this evening for our How to Get Started in Real Estate Investing, Even as a Busy Professional Woman webinar. That is a free event that I'm going to put in the chat, or you can register for that. Hope to see you there. If you're trying to figure out how do I get into real estate investing, we're going to show you. And whatever you do, just I hope you take care of yourself. It's really important that you get healthy and you get real. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.